Hey comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to talk about The Walking Dead. That's right guys, we're continuing the talks of Season 6. This time it's Episode 6, otherwise known as Always Accountable. And yeah, I've been doing these comparisons, who these characters are, theory videos instead of doing full-fledged on reviews, just to try to change it up and get the average TV viewer to get a comparison of the TV show and the comic book. So hopefully you guys learn a little bit out of this. So last night's episode had to do with a couple of different stories. One had to do with Sasha and the other one had to do with Abraham. And last night's episode was really slow, and I didn't think it did any justice for the average TV viewer here. So when it comes to Sasha and Abraham's side of the story, I thought it was very slow. I could care less if they're going to have some kind of romance or whatever that is. They didn't have that in the comic. And, you know, if it happens in a show, great. If it doesn't, good. You know, I really thought that part was really, really bad. It just was outright boring last night. The other part of the episode, which was a little bit better, but I still didn't think it did real great justice for a TV viewer, was the part where Daryl was on his own and he winds up being captured. He gets captured by 3 people, okay? And the main person in this episode, besides Daryl, was we get introduced to the character known as Dwight. And Dwight, if you're not familiar, is part of Negan's group called the Saviors. Now, in this episode, it looks like you get a glimpse of the Saviors, and you get to see this middle management man, or you saw his, you get to see the bottom half of him named Wade. Now, this is what the comic book did. They kept it very mysterious leading up to the Negan scenes. If you read the comics, you got to see the covers where people had different weapons in their hands leading up to that milestone episode number 100. So they did this in the show where you see these cast of characters, you just see the bottoms of them. So I thought that was really cool. But if you didn't read the comic, you kind of like, okay, well, why don't you see these guys? You know, what's so mysterious about them? So that's who they are. They're kind of like the Saviors. They're the people that are working for Negan, and the show is building up to that point. Now, again, we wind up seeing Dwight in this episode. Looks like he's committing the act before he gets which is Negan's ultimate punishment by burning people's faces, knowing that he committed a crime towards Negan. So that's like Negan's thing, and you don't see that yet. It looks like you see the pre-stages of Dwight here. But again, Dwight is one of the Saviors, and that's who you get introduced here. But I don't think that, again, the show did a great job at explaining who he was, and you know, they didn't really repeat his name, so it made it hard to remember who he was and if he was a character that could be remembered. So I thought they did a very poor job at that. The only thing that will give it away is that, spoiler, if you didn't see the episode, he winds up taking Daryl's actual crossbow. And in the comic, you noticed that leading up to those milestone issues, you get to see a character with a crossbow, and it's actually Dwight, who his regular weapon is a crossbow, and Daryl is never in the actual comic book series. So you get to see the little comparisons there. So Dwight always had a crossbow, and when you were the comic book reader, the show was going on at this point, and you were thinking, oh, is Daryl going to be introduced into the series? And he never was. It was Dwight. So it's funny how those two have actually crossed paths now from the comic book to the actual TV show, you know, and how Dwight gets that crossbow. I thought was pretty interesting. So as a comic book reader, I thought that I could appreciate those moments there between comic book character that wasn't created and the comic book character villain that actually had that crossbow. So I thought that was really neat there, and all those little other things that they threw in there. But if you've never read the comic book, you're going to be like, what's the point of this guy? Because he just drives off taking the crossbow, takes the bike, and that's what you think is the end of him there. So you know, as a show aspect this time around, I thought the show was very poor. You got to see the what Dwight was before beforehand. Maybe we'll see him later on in the next year's episodes, but I thought I'd just give you guys a little glimpse of who Dwight actually is, what's his purpose, and later on, actually, he becomes an ally with Rick. Now, does that stay true into the actual TV show? That will still yet be determined. That's far away off, and we'll see where it goes. So, guys, tell me in the comments what you thought of this week's episode. Did you think it was as boring as I thought? This gives you a little bit of insight of what Dwight is. Were you happy to see him in the actual episode? And when are we gonna get Gwen? When are we get Glenn back? Is he gonna come back? Is he gonna survive or not? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. So, guys, leave me those comments below. As always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. Until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.